Oh, there it goes. Perfect. Um, so the people who work on this project weren't able to come present this year, but I was a graduate student on the project almost no, it was a decade ago at this point. So I figured I could give folks a tour around their website and project and do my best to answer any questions about it. Um, there are a lot of different things on the website, so I'm going to probably focus mostly in on um, the digital encyclopedia and virtual collection, but there are also field guides, which are uh, parts of different kind of NSF projects grouped into one bigger project. So it's like specific time periods in specific areas. And it's kind of similar to the skull project we saw yesterday, where there's kind of a visual way to try and identify things in your specific area. And there's lots of information about the different time periods and specific features and lots of high resolution images. So I think, let's see, we've got a Neogene, Atlas, Cretaceous, Pennsylvanian, and Ordovician so far. I know a Devonian one will be up in the next year or so, but I think it's largely for New York. But then I guess I will also be contributing to the Michigan part of that. So there are many instances where I can envision people using these resources. For me specifically, I often use the digital encyclopedia, especially for people emailing me with fossil identification questions. That's mostly what I receive. So I don't have like a formal teaching role at my institution, but I do a lot of informal education. So this is essentially an open access, I would be like loose textbook. It's a place to find information that's generated by professionals in the field. So the idea is it's supposed to kind of be like the history of life on Earth. So there's information about the fossil record kind of very generally, geologic time, evolution, systematics and taxonomy, like all sorts of different topics. And then it really gets into the nitty gritty of specific animal groups, which is very, very important and very complicated. So it's not complete. I think they would say that it's a continual work in progress, but I'll take you through some of my kind of favorite pages. So in terms of geologic time, I think they also have like little quiz questions at the end of the pages. What John Hendricks and Liz Hermsen and their team do are make figures if they can't find a figure that they find easy to digest, because I think that that's a big barrier for a lot of people as we talk about these really complex topics, and then the figures that are associated with them are equally complex, which makes it really hard to kind of digest any of it. So I'm just going to kind of like scroll through and look at the pages and comment on a couple things, and then go back to the animal pages. So time is one of those things that whenever we have a tour coming in, it's really hard to explain hundreds of millions of years to people, especially when they're like 18 years old, kind of just thinking on these really big scales. So they broke it down in terms of a calendar year. They kind of have like a narrative style with big images to help break up the text. And everything usually links back to where they found it. So this is like from Wikimedia. Yeah, and then here they have these little flashcards at the end for you to kind of test your knowledge of the chapter that they produced. And I don't know what things are like in other disciplines, but paleontology textbooks tend to be $150. And that's a very big expense. So their idea was to just try to make it more accessible. And this whole project is kind of run through and facilitated by the Paleontological Research Institution in Ithaca, and has been funded for a long time by NSF. and now kind of in part by other grants that are kind of building upon the work and structure that they've already built here to make more content. I think what's also really excellent is when the people are building out pages, if they are not the expert in the content, they will reach out to the content experts. So I spent time editing the echinoderm pages for them. And I know Liz spent a different Liz, not Liz in here, a planty Liz, spent a lot of time building out the fossil plant pages. It's a very collaborative effort to increase access to this information. And many paleontologists are experts in, unfortunately, many animal groups, which maybe is good, but makes our brains very full. So I find it very exciting to be able to share all this information with just about anyone. So I get a lot of cephalopods that come through my inbox, like portions of them. And by linking to a chapter such as this, I can use a little bit more technical language so that they can use this as a reference point, because it's hard to talk about very specific pieces of anatomy that I'm seeing in their individual images that they found of this fossil. So oftentimes I'll talk about like the siphuncle or specific pieces of the shell that then they can come here, look at these wonderful figures that they've made, or look at a model in 3D and try and compare their specimen to what exists in this textbook. So I believe PRI's models are all on Sketchfab, and I believe they are open access, but I'm not 100% sure. You might be able to download them as well. Sketchfab has this really cool annotation feature where you can essentially leave notes on the specimen to help the user get a better understanding of the fossil or whatever the model might be of. So here's a wonderful kind of figure of the siphuncle, which I mentioned earlier, which is this weird fleshy tube that has like calcified parts, which look like these little nubbins here, and usually just look like a circle on the outside of a fossil, but it's one of those key characteristics that you look for when you're trying to identify, is that lumpy rock a cephalopod, or is it a crinoid stem, or is it something else? So we're able to kind of give more information in association with this like wonderful textbook that they have. So I won't go too much into all of this, but you can see it's really detailed. And this is arguably pretty unusual. In many instances, you need to go to different websites to get at information about different aspects of animals. So I find it nice to have everything kind of aggregated in one space like this. Let's see what else. Oh, uh-oh. Let's see. Yes, so I don't know, I think there are a couple herbarium type people in the audience. Plants are really hard to talk about and describe, and especially in the fossil record, because the information that we can glean is tricky. It's tricky to decipher. It's tricky to understand. Why did they name every piece of the plant something different when they found it? It just makes reconciling the information very complicated. And as such, the field of paleobotany is often neglected, especially in like the classroom. There's just less paleobotanists. So when you have the opportunity to have a paleobotanist write out their kind of expertise on this in a digestible way that goes through the science communication person at PRI, it's really helpful. It's really excellent. And they also have a resource on how they do all of their photogrammetric techniques. So if you were interested in trying to set up your own space to make 3D models, you can do that as well. Let me scroll back up to the virtual collection. So this is kind of embedded in all of the different chapters that they have. It's just a different way to look at all of the different 3D models that they have. And look at CC0. Awesome. So if you're interested in downloading and printing something, maybe for the kits that, I forget the context, for the escape room or something that we were talking about, having some sort of tactile piece to that. This could be a way to do that. I don't know how they are scaled, but maybe it doesn't matter. I guess it depends on the type of information you're trying to convey in your lesson or class experience. Yeah, so very cool. I think they've updated this a lot since I came through last. But it looks like they've got pretty much every animal group represented. Ooh, and trace fossils, wonderful. So just like almost like a one-stop shopping for different types of 3D models, annotations, but also information in a digestible format. Is there anything somebody would want to see specifically? Let's see if they have something. Oh, they do have some lessons already on their website. So let me throw that in the chat. It looks like these are in association with a specific atlas. That's often one of the requirements for a lot of these grants, is to have a publishable product available for people to employ. Excellent. I think there's another one as well, because I made one for the Ordovician. Oh yeah, here it goes, the survival game. Oh yeah, and Oceans of Ohio. Yeah, so has all of the lessons associated with materials that were produced by the grants as well, which is really cool. There is an app. I used to have it. I don't know if it's changed at all. I'm not sure the utility of it or what the intended utility was for, but you can go through all of the different images that are on the website through the app. So maybe if you're in the field or trying to identify something quickly and don't have a computer, that might be a good option for trying to get quick information. Yeah, here's some other pages. I believe it is also a free app, which is good. I guess we should probably try to get them to migrate that to our OER on Cubes Hub, because that would be nice to have these also represented there. If anyone has questions or wants to see a specific animal group or fossil, I'm happy to try and do my best to answer anything.